everyone and welcome to another episode of Rift News, the show you probably didn't expect so soon again. But we got too many interesting and hilarious things to talk about, so why don't we cheer up the Christmas mood with that? It's only 14 days till Christmas, and you still need to do some Christmas shopping, so I know you could use some cheering up. So let's start with the most valuable news of all. Remember how hyped everyone was when Riot revealed their 4 new games? And 2 mobile ports on top of that? And a playable demo of Legends of Runeterra after that? And Senna after that? And the Philios after that? And Set after that? Well, it turns out Riot has even more aces up their sleeves. Because Riot just announced Riot Forge, a new studio dedicated to working with smaller developers on making new single-player story-driven games. In other words, the joke about Riot being a small indie company is meaningless now. What this means is that besides the 4 announced games, which are Project A, Project F, Project L, and Legends of Runeterra, there is also that esports manager game, but everyone keeps forgetting about it. But Riot is also working on more single-player titles, with at least 2 being worked on right now. Now, you may be asking, if Riot themselves are working on 4 of their own games, why would they hire indie companies to pump out even more? And the answer is surprisingly not,
I like money.
It goes back to how Blizzard turned from the most valued gaming company to a company that can barely satisfy their core audience. You see, back in the day, Blizzard had a simple task. Keep releasing patches for StarCraft and Warcraft so that the games are relatively balanced, and at the same time keep working on World of Warcraft, so we can give players a great world to explore. But then, with a lot of income generated with this simple formula, Blizzard realized,
I like money.
So they started pumping out more games. Soon there was Diablo 3, Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, and Overwatch as well. While this doesn't necessarily sound bad, it turns sour when you realize that all of them are live services. And Blizzard had to hire dedicated people to keep updating all the games. And this is how Blizzard got to where they are now. If you release too many games that require constant updates, you won't have the resources to keep all the games alive. That's why Diablo 3 is rotting in hell, all puns intended. That's why StarCraft 2 is surrounded by empty void, all puns intended. Why Hearthstone spawned auto chess game with its dying breath. God, I wish there would be a pun. And don't forget Heroes of the Storm exists. The only game that is hovering above the pit relatively safely is Overwatch, but even that game remained the same for the past 3 years. Do you see what I'm talking about now? This is what Riot is trying to avoid. They know releasing dozens of live services will ruin them, and so they seem to have a plan. The 4 announced games during the anniversary seem to be live services. A fighting game, a shooter, a card game, and a dungeon crawler are all online games after all. But it doesn't seem like Riot wants to go beyond that. And that's why Riot Forge exists. Anything Riot Forge releases will likely be one-off games. Think about games like Shovel Knight, Celeste, or even adventure games like Walking Dead. Those games were released and that was it. Riot Forge exists to give us story-driven games from League's universe. And the great thing about it is that it won't take away any of Riot's resources. So looking back at this entire project, it almost feels like Riot is taking on the responsibility of keeping their games high quality, which is something quite rare in today's industry. But the news about Riot Forge get even better, because Ghostcrawler, who usually reveals things he shouldn't, revealed during a Brazilian convention that on the 12th of December, which is tomorrow, Riot Forge will reveal their first game. And every time this reveal is mentioned, they always show this picture of Echo. So naturally I dug deeper into it, and now I am ready to give you my best guess as to what this game will be. Considering the fact that A, we are talking about one-off games, and B, we are talking about indie games, a 2D side-scroller is the first thing that comes to my mind, especially if you connect it with this art style. These cartoony art styles are usually used for platformers, but things get even more obvious if you connect it to this official art hosted on Riot Forge's website. There is no doubt that this is Zone, which is where Echo lives. But curiously, not only does the art style match the first picture, but also if you look at the way this art is structured, you may notice how everything is placed in the scene with horizontal lines in mind. And the foreground is clearly separated from the background, which is something you typically see in 2D side-scrolling games. Because of these coincidences, we may have an adventure game, something like Shovel Knight, on our hands. Only this time we will be playing as Echo, and we will be exploring the sumps of Zone. But remember that this is supposed to be a story-driven game. So I wonder if this is going to push Echo's story forward, or if this is going to retell the story of how Echo got his hands on a Hextech gem, and how he started reversing time. Then again, all of this was pointless and maybe I was wrong as well. Just make sure to check your social media tomorrow, because that's when the game will be revealed. So now, let's continue with the news. Hello there, this is me from the future, which is the lazy side of me that never follows a script. Yesterday Riot revealed a lot of new things, so let's quickly go through those before we continue with the rest of the video. First of all, the next TFT patch went live, and this brings in two important new things. First of all, the UI changed. Not only does it now show your level and how many times you need to buy XP to level up, but it also shows you the percentage of what champions you can get. So this image is wrong because it shows 0% at a legendary, but there is that nonetheless. But never mind those. The most important change is that they swapped the XP and the refresh buttons. Refresh was on the top and XP was at the bottom. They swapped places to have the XP button near the level up bar. Which makes sense, but be careful when you are hyper rolling. But if you are using keyboard shortcuts, nothing changes anyway. Also, when you are in a carousel, you no longer have to remember which map is yours to check what items you have. Now there is a new button at the bottom that will allow you to hop between the carousel and your board. The second thing about TFT is 3 new little legends. And this time I am going to be bracing myself to not empty my wallet. Because yes, that is a Hextech chicken. And yes, that is a Voidling. There is also Mini Galio in the middle, but that's fine. 2 out of 3 amazing little legends is enough for me to buy tons of eggs. The Hextech chicken is called Talker, which is a Hextech bird from future Piltover. Then there is Kregel, which is a statue carved from the finest Petricite, just like Galio. And then there is Flutterbug, which is a Voidling that wants to consume the world, similar to Rek'Sai and Kha'Zix. What's amazing about these 3 little legends is that they are all based on lore. Talker is from Piltover and is based on a Hextech gem, Kregel is from Demacia and he's based on Petricite, and the Flutterbug is one of those void beetles that appeared in many stories before. So in short, I'm gonna spend a lot of money on this. Lastly, Riot also revealed a new skin line. This one is called Mecha Kingdoms, and it is the future version of the Varying Kingdoms. Essentially, the story says that giant monsters arrived, and gods decided to give people giant mechs to fight them back. So at the beginning of the trailer, when you see Jax, that is not the skin. Jax is only a pilot of the mech. So the skin is actually the giant samurai themed mech. It was confirmed that we are getting 5 pilots in total. And since it is themed around Varying Kingdoms, we should expect them to arrive in January, together with Seth, whose skin will likely be one of those 5 pilots. Also at the beginning there was a dragon in the background, and a lot of people expected a new Aurelian Soul skin. But since Riot doesn't want to disappoint their players, they straight up confirmed that Aurelian Soul will not be getting a new skin in this skin line. Which means that they are probably working on a different skin for him. It's just not going to be part of the Mecha Kingdom skins. But that's all the news from the future. So now let's go back to my past self and let's continue with the video. If you spend your time around Twitch as well, you probably know about our god and savior Twitch Prime. But if you do have Prime, you should pay attention to it during December. Because if you connect your Twitch to Riot, you get 3 items. These items are an emote, a permanent skin, and a TFT egg. But besides interesting loot, December also brought us the 3rd serious attempt at Clash. Unfortunately, even this time, Clash did eventually turn into Crash. At least that was the case for the first 2 days. You see, this time around, Riot managed to go around the server problems by spreading the tournament throughout 5 days. So the way Clash works now is that you can join the tournament at any point during the week it is open, and it will just give you the date and time at which you should log in to play. This way, not everyone will start their games on the same hour, and the servers get way more stable. As a bonus, Riot cramped all 3 tournament rounds into one day. So the day the system decides you are going to play is the day you are going to finish the entire tournament. This makes things way more simple, and a lot more enjoyable to play. In fact, when Clash works, everyone agrees that it is amazing, but to this day, there hasn't been a clean Clash run yet. Next, if you look at your client, you may notice that the 12th of December is not only the day that the new game gets revealed, it is also the day we get the Night and Dawn event. So all the skins we mentioned last time, besides the Sugar Rush skins, will go live. And together with them, we should expect Aphelios release as well. In fact, if you are playing on NA servers, Aphelios might be released right now. But the 12th of December is also the day we get the 2nd issue of the CZECH comic. And we already got the cover art for that issue. So expect a lot of Zed vs Jin action. Next we need to talk about the merch store. Right now you should still be able to buy ranked merch, so you can display your efforts to your friends, only to get asked by your teacher why are you wearing a shirt of your favorite element. But besides that, Riot already revealed new wave of merch. First of all, not only did DJ Sona get a figure, a Funko Pop, and a shirt, which isn't actually new, but all of DJ Sona's music was also released on vinyls. And especially since vinyls are getting popular again, not because they would be practical, but because it looks cool. Some of you may be interested in this. Then Riot also released some winter merch, such as new Frostbite Tibbers, plushie of Braum, some pins, a mousepad, premium winter posters, and they have sales to clear out some of the older merch. But most important out of all of these is the new Evelyn statue. I have to be honest, I love the cartoony style of these statues. But since it's Evelyn, I'm not sure I'll be able to explain my wife why I own this. And since we are already talking about merch, let's finally talk about the one thing everyone's been waiting for. If you've been on social media at all, you probably heard that Louis Vuitton finally released their clothing collection inspired by League. Which means that, no, the merch we saw last time wasn't it. They released actual luxury clothing as well. The issue is, I am not sure if they are targeting the right demographic. You see, League is dominated by large men, while the clothing is focusing on tiny women. But what's worse, you know what nerdy neckbeards playing League won't buy? A shirt for $500. You see, Louis Vuitton took down the pricing on their website. It could be because they legitimately sold out, or it could be because the pricing is all people talked about. Fortunately, I managed to get a shot of their website before the pricing was taken down, so I can show you what everyone's been talking about. The sad thing is that I like some of the clothing, and if this hoodie wasn't $2,000, I would buy it in an instant. Then again, you need to remember that Louis Vuitton is likely the most luxurious brand in the world. And you are not just buying the design, just like when you are buying clothing with pointless logos. What you are really doing is buying status that tells people, look, I've got money. That is what luxury is about. It's not how good it is how much it costs and can I show people that I can afford it. Don't get me wrong, there is nothing bad about it. I just really like that hoodie and it makes me sad that I can't get it. But enough about pricing and let's have a look at what is great about this clothing collection. No matter who you are and what you do, there is clothing for everyone. Normal shirt, invisible shirt, teenage growth spurt shirt, belt that also has a prestige edition, fishing hat, deformed feet shoes, fanny pack for crazy people, invisible hoodie, Riot Swim Bananas jacket, bag charm that charms you out of money, 18th century bra. All this variety makes it feel like the Pokemon collection of clothing. They've got everything. But jokes aside, again, this is a luxury brand. One could almost call it prestigious. So of course these items are not aimed at your common neckbeards. And the fact that League was able to get a clothing collection with one of the most prestigious brands in the world is a massive success. So good on you, Riot. And great job at spreading your brand around. I just wonder how many items from this collection will get sold. And if they do, how many of the buyers actually know League? And now, let's have a look at the last and quite important piece of news. Throughout last week, some players found out that they've got an email from Rito Games themselves, and that those emails always contained a picture themed after the art asset that referred to CZECH, the next champion. Well, as different people got different emails together, the community quickly found out that Riot is already teasing the abilities of the next champion. Again, let me remind you that Senna was released a little over a month ago, and the Philios is right behind the corner. Riot's been on Sugar Rush lately. Anyway, let's have a look at the abilities. The pictures always show us which ability it is, what it's called, and the picture teases what it does. Again, remember that CZECH is supposed to be an easy to play Juggernaut, who is also an underworld Ionian wrestler, so expect some simple kicks and punches. The first one is Q, which is called Fist Meet Face. The description of these cards are always the same. We know you like to fight. Get ready for a new contender. The picture here shows Garen getting hit, so it may really be a simple punch, since it is called Fist. The reason why Garen is in this picture is because he's a Juggernaut, so CZECH will likely lane against him a lot. Same goes for all the other abilities. It always shows Juggernauts. Next one is W, which is called Catch These Hands. We know that CZECH is supposed to have an ability where he takes a lot of damage and then he unleashes punches back at the enemy. From the art, it seems like this will be it. Again, the two shown opponents are Darius and Mundo, which are both Juggernauts. The next one is his E, which is called Bust 'em Up. While it doesn't show the ability here, we know it is his E from the other images. Here you can see Darius and Lee Sin getting their heads smashed together. So just like CZECH, maybe Seth will smash enemies together for a stun. And I assume it is Darius and Lee Sin here, because Darius is the laner and Lee Sin is the jungler who came for a gank. The last ability is his ultimate, which is called Let's Give Him a Show. Of course we can see Cho'Gath in the picture, but the art is very vague. I assume it is going to be a suplex or some other wrestling move, because simple punches and throws wouldn't be flashy enough to justify the name. Unfortunately, that is it. We didn't get a card for his passive. Then again, we didn't get a 3-hit passive in a while, so you all know what to expect. Hey, did you know that we have social media and Twitch where we talk about other league facts and stories? And did you know that we have need mugs and shirts too? The links to all of that will be below. And as always, thank you, come again.